Alrighty, forensics people. I am going to give you the directions separately from the data for your class lab. It just has to do with the camera angle, what I'm using. So this first one, it'll be a little bit confusing, so you got to stay with me and you have to really pay attention. In this first video, I'll be going over mostly directions. I will be showing you what we call the pre-break class, where you will write your observations down. So what do you need? You need out your Forensics 2 lab manual as we go through this. If you open up your Forensics 2 lab manual, the very first lab is the lab on glass activity. A lot of information here. I am not going to read through this in a video. You can all read. You are sophomores, juniors, and seniors getting ready to leave high school. Go on with your lives. You can read. Even if you read slowly, you're very capable of reading. Okay, so as we open this out, there are some things I do want to actually stress for you, and I'm actually going to redo this. My other recording got so messed up, I had to ditch it. So if we look at page 3 in your book, it talks about cracks, how it cracks. Now this is in your notes. We went through this in your notes. This is something we talked about, so you're going to see this in action. And I'm just going to switch books here so I can go through it with you as you do it. So on page 3, I want to point something out because this is the first part of the lab. This is why it's like important. This is something I would show you before you go back and do the lab. We talked about how a piece of glass breaks. Remember, this is the side view of the glass, right? This is its side. And you're holding it, so you're looking at it at the side. We're applying pressure. Whatever that pressure could be, a rock being thrown at it, you pushing against it with your hand, which I don't recommend because you don't want it to break with your hand. A hammer hitting it, a nail hitting it, something, putting that and bending it so it bends until it breaks. This radial fracture, in terms of what happens first and then second, this happens first. That's the first break in the glass. Now, when we say it's a radial fracture, many of them happen at the same time, but it's the first type of break. So if I push, I have these little lines that come and radiate outward from the center of the break. And it's so hard to see or visualize in a 2D drawing. If I look at the front of the glass, right, I would have the place where there was the pressure, and then I would have these breaks outwards. These are the radial, and they happen first. Then what happens, because you still have pressure being applied to the glass as it's breaking, you get a different kind of break, which is called a concentric break. So these happen first. And guys, it's not like, oh, you can slowly watch the little radial break happen. It happens so quickly that it looks like they all happen at exactly the same time. So if I look after that, we'll have these things in our break. And then you have the breaks that go around like this. And these are the concentric. And this happens after the radial. This happens first. This happens after, but like immediately after. You visually with your eye can't slow it down to say, oh, look, I can see the two individual things happening. So it's like bam, bam, and you don't notice the difference. Right? So we're going to look at these two things. We're going to look at glass before breaking and after breaking. When we break it, when I break it, there's the side, like we take the break out. See, I've got a broken piece of glass here, right? This is my broken piece of glass. I am going to look at the side along the radial fracture. I am then going to look at the side along the concentric fracture. Like literally hold the piece of glass, and I'm going to try to tilt it under here and tilt it under the other camera. And I don't know which camera is going to be best. So you might have 2 or 3 videos to watch to try to get your data. That's why I say I hate the cameras we have, but this is what I have, and I don't have the money to spend $200 or $300 on a camera that can really focus in, etc. with light. So we're going to look at these things that you'll see along the side of the fracture, right? So it's very important. This is a particular data page, which is data table. And that's why I hate this lab, and I was supposed to rewrite it, but I just never get the time. This is data table 2B. And I'll show you, and that's on page, our page 17, their page 19. I don't know where we get off on page numbers here. Okay. 10, 11, 12, 13, 13, 14, 15. Oh, I must have taken out those two. Okay. So our page 17, because if you notice, there's 2 page numbers. This is our page number. This is the manufacturer of the lab's number. We're going to go by our page number. Okay. After we break, we will look at this for flat glass only. And I will show that to you in the data table. There will be several types of glass that we will look at and several types that I will break. So we're going to fast forward because this goes into the other parts of the lab, so that'll be on other directions. And if you go to page 8, that is essentially the procedure I will do with this set of videos. The directions, this direction video, and then the actual lab data video. So we will be working with window glass, which is the same as flat or float glass. So remember, that's going to be interchangeable. When I say, oh, look at the flat glass, it means the window pane, which is also a floated type of glass. We will be looking at tempered glass. We'll be looking at a lead beaker. We'll be looking at a lead crystal glass. We're looking at a Pyrex beaker, and I'm adding another one in. We're going to look at laminated windshield glass. I have a friend who owns a glass place, Mr. Rockford Glass, and he cuts me these nice little squares of windshield glass that we get to use for this lab. So if you ever need glass, I put a plug in for him because he donates it. He won't charge the district, which is really nice. Really, he's just not charging me. But he could say, oh yeah, I need X amount of money, but he doesn't. And we will use not so much the plastic vials because I have a different way of looking at the material. We're going to look at using nails to break certain things. We will need a hammer. I will show you how to use all of these things that are here, right, to look at it. We will look in this particular video at what we call a one impact shot. What happens when we just hit the glass once? And so you will see me tape it like this. We're putting the tape all the way around the outside. You will see me put a piece of tape over it. That's a clear tape. It's supposed to keep the pieces together. And if I skip that, it's more so it's just easier that I don't cut my fingers taking out the piece of glass. I don't have those gloves that prevent you from getting cut. And then we will break it. So I'm going to go through all of this procedure up through page number 8. Okay, so we're stopping here on this first one. So we're going to now go to page 17, our page 17, for the data table. And I'm going to explain the data table, and you need to make modifications on the data table. So here's page 17. This is the one where I really wish I had time because it's a really lousy data table that they send us. Okay, so page 17, 1-7. This first table is what we call the observation description table. You are writing descriptions of what you see. And I'm not supposed to say here because I am going to describe how it feels, how it reflects, the weight of it. And I'm going to tell you guys, you need to be descriptive. No one-word little things. It's shiny. It looks green. Okay, that's not forensics. If you're going to do that, drop the course. Okay, I mean, I'm being serious. There's a lot of you in here who, guidance counselor said, oh yeah, they really need this course to graduate, blah, blah, blah. If you don't want to put the effort in, don't be here. Okay, so over here, because this is what I mean about they didn't really think this through as a company, what type of glass are we going to describe? Because there's 5 types. I've added one. So we're going to just draw a line down here, and we're going to add it, go below, because I've added in one because I had the access to it so that you could see the difference. Yeah, there's not a lot of space to write. I get that. That's why I wanted to redo this and put it into Google Doc, but guys, time just goes by fast, and I just don't have the time. All right, so the type of glass we have the flat glass, which is the window pane glass. We're going to use what's called tempered. We are going to look at Pyrex, which will be a beaker, because I have so many, like Mr. Kroll is great. Every time somebody in his classroom does a little chip on the beaker and we have to throw it out because you're not supposed to use it, he brings it down to me so I can smash the beaker for you, and you can smash beakers, right? Because the people who make this kit give us one small example of each type of glass other than the flat glass, because you have to break them. And it's like, okay, I have a kit and I can only show one class, so we just use our resources here, and we use stuff that was going to be thrown out, and you get to break it. We have lead crystal glass. Now on the lead crystal, I'm going to be honest with you. I've got a bunch of already broken lead crystal. This is very expensive and it comes out of my own pocket. So because you're not in class and you're technically as a class not breaking it, I'm breaking it for you. I'll just use the previously broken glass. The only thing you'll be missing is the smash that you hear. And this is going to be laminated windshield glass, because it breaks differently. Okay, so this is going to be before the break, and this is going to be after it's broken. What do the pieces look like? Are they sharp? Are they big? That kind of thing. Right. So that's this part. The other part, that's table 2A. This table is breaking the flat glass, just the flat glass in a single hit. Right. So this is single hit flat glass. I'm going to change the color of my pen so you realize it's a different experiment. Now this doesn't look that different in color. This is green and the other one's blue. What did the front look like? So this is description, and then we're splitting it. You're going to draw it, and you might have to pause the data video to draw it. So we're going to split. Just like if you took Forensics 1, we did that with the blood lab. You had to describe and you had to draw. Well, guess what? We're going to do that again. Front of the glass, and I'll tell you, this is the front, this is the back, so you know. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Describe what it looked like after the break. Okay, so this is after the break. Single shot break. I hope it works. It's very hard to break it on a single shot in the sense that I have to put it just right. I have to hit it with a hammer just right with a nail, because the nail is supposed to act like it's like a BB going through the glass. This is where in some ways you're probably like, phew, I don't have to do this. I'm not very, like if you're not very dexterous, you wouldn't be worrying about smashing your thumb with a hammer. I have to worry about that. You don't. Okay, and then 2B goes with 2A. This is when we're going to remove a piece. Right, you're going to, and here's the directions. Look along the radial crack. Oops. That's supposed to say crack, guys, not grack. It wasn't supposed to be a G. What do you see? And then draw the side. Okay, label top and bottom of the glass. You might say, well, what do you mean? Okay, I'm going to just move my book over to the left. This is what I mean. There's a top and a bottom. They said inside and outside, but it could be a top and a bottom. Where was the pressure? Well, in this case, it's on the top. And if it's on the top, you're going to look at the side and say, if I knew the pressure was on the top, which way did these lines go that are in the glass? Because it's supposed to point a certain way. And you're going to do the same thing for concentric. What did you see? This one might be hard to do because it's very hard, even for me, to get it to crack so you have a nice concentric crack. Now, after I go through this, I'm going to stop the video. This is your instruction video. There is going to be a second video with the assignment where you are looking at the actual me doing the work. Okay, and I'm trying to figure out which camera is going to be best. That's going to be a tough one. We'll try it with the one that I can move around the area, not this ladybug one, but sometimes the ladybug is clearer, so I might have to give you two videos. And then again, what do you see? Draw what you see. If you see anything. I will try to point it out with you. Oh, shoot. Where did my light go? Okay. Top and bottom. So guys, really, when I say top and bottom, you're literally going to have like this, and you're going to fill in what do you see along the side. Do you see anything along the side? Do you see lines along the side? What do they look? You can make your top and bottom, and you label, okay, this was the top, this is the bottom. The top means where the hit was, hit side, strike side. Okay, all right. I'm going to stop this video, and then I'm going to have another video right after it in the assignment where you're going to join me doing the experiment.